So one day someone commented for me to launch an egg in my giant slingshot, so I got a whole carton, put the first egg in, and launched it. I didn't get a good shot, but it cracked, and here was the second launch. It cracked too. And then this one from afar. Here's the egg and the shell, kind of still intact. Then I decided to launch 2 eggs at the same time, and it was the coolest by far. Look at it. It's slow-mo. And then I let my brother have one shot to hit me, but he missed. Then I got out a minion. When I put it in, it was kind of like a hammock. It launched him. And I thought he was hurt, so I ran over and did CPR, and then he was okay. Then my brother missed hitting me with the minion, but I hit him, and then I hit it with a bat. So after trying and failing to beat the world record for the world's largest bubble with this gum, I drove out to Walmart to get a Clips gum that someone recommended to me. I sat down, got 3 pieces out, put it in my mouth, and started chewing. And I was determined to beat a record. Here was my first bubble. Trash. Second one, trash. Third one, too. So then I got my laptop out to look up how to blow a better bubble and figured I needed new gum. But first I wanted to try this trick again, and got it. Yeah, I'm cool. Then I drove out to the gas station and got this gum. And I started out with the Hubba Bubba. Put 1 piece in my mouth, chewed it up, and blew a decent bubble. I could tell it was better gum, and I blew this bubble with a few more pieces. I got another piece, chewed it up, and blew this. Then this. Then this one. I added another piece and kept blowing even bigger bubbles. And after another piece, got my biggest yet. Here's the slow-mo. I was pretty happy, and after that, I blew this one and was able to hold it, and then you bite it again and blow another bubble. Then I just threw the gum against the wall for no reason. And I didn't break a record, but comment what else I should try. So one day, someone commented for me to add rubber bands to my aluminum foil ball, and I thought that was an interesting idea, so I'm going to try it. But first, I got to fill in these gaps with aluminum foil. I had the bands in a pile, and then began filling in the gaps with aluminum foil and hammering it down until it was all good. And then I began placing these leftover rubber bands from the rubber band ball series, the colored ones and these ones. And the ball looked good enough for now. Here's it next to me, and here's me throwing it. And then me throwing the rubber band ball. Let me know if you want me to continue adding bands or foil or what, and like. So now to part 32 of this rubber band ball, and I'm probably never stopping, honestly. I bought another one of these packages, put it in a pile, and placed it. And then I got out all the colored rubber bands that are actually meant for garbage cans. And I placed that entire pile as well, and the ball now weighs 84 pounds. And I took it out to the street, and because my wrist is kind of hurt, I couldn't really pick it up, but here's it next to a basketball, and then we walked off together in the sunset, like if I should keep on going. So one day someone commented to try to sand my aluminum foil ball down and try to make it more round. So I got out a mallet to first shape it best I could. And it wasn't working very well, so then I decided to try a comment I saw putting it in the dryer to make it more round. And it sounded really loud and scary, so I took it out. Yeah, don't try that at home. And then I tried throwing the ball and even rolling it around. And when that failed, I got out the metal hammer, which does that to it. And I just focused my hitting in one spot to try to see how smooth I could get it. And it was pretty smooth compared to the other side. I tried my best to round out the rest of the ball and then got out this sander. And it sanded pretty sort of smooth. And it looked decently round, but got my fingers dirty. And with a little bit more of the hammer, the ball is overall way more round. Like if I should make it even rounder with rubber bands. So this is now part 3 of this giant aluminum foil ball. And here I am wrapping another roll around it. And then patting it down. And then I got out another roll and wrapped it around. And it was starting to look pretty big. I then patted it down like so and wrapped another roll around it. And it was to this point I patted it down and then got out a mallet, and one hit does that. So I began hitting it all over to make it more and more compact until I was left with this nearly 9-pound aluminum foil ball that I threw as high as I could. And then I dropped my rubber band ball on it again, and it handled it way better this time. Like if you want me to keep on going. So one day I ordered one of those ab stimulator things I always see advertised to test if they really work. I opened it up, read the instructions, then put batteries in the motor and put the motor on and put it on my stomach. Then I turned it on and kept pressing the button to increase the intensity, and honestly it kind of tickled. And I decided to leave it on for a while to get the full effect and even do crunches and stuff. I had it on for a long time, and then I looked at the sunset and looked at my abs and realized it was time to take it off. And the results were amazing. Just kidding, that's not me. I'm right here and I don't really know if anything changed, and I don't really know if this thing works, so I just threw it over the fence but missed, so I threw it again. And then just walked away not caring. So one day I bought this bucket of 300 pieces of bubble gum to try to break the world record for the world's biggest bubble, which is actually 20 inches. I chewed the 5 pieces of gum up in my mouth, and then it was this big, and I tried to blow my first bubble, which kind of sucked. And so did the second one, and the third. And the fourth one was a little bit better, but it was honestly looking like I would never beat that record. So I put a bunch more gum in my mouth and tried again, and kept on failing. This was the best I could do, so I kicked the bucket over, and then tried that thing where you kick it in your mouth, and ended up kicking it on the ceiling. Yeah, this was a fail, but comment your other ideas. So one day someone commented for me to try to trade my rubber band ball with the pawn shop again, so I put it in my car, and this would be my 3rd time going. I walked in and said,
I'm back. Hey, what's happening, Dylan? I actually have this new ball.
I showed him my new aluminum foil ball first, and he said,
Pretty neat. You from getting an alien invasion.
I was thinking this thing is, started it, so it's probably not going to be worth a ton, $300. And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy, and then asked how many rolls of aluminum foil were in it, so I told him 6, and then he asked how much weight, and I didn't know, so I had him weigh it, and it wouldn't register.
How much did you spend on the foil?
About like 24. And he passed, so I threw it down and got the rubber band ball.
Almost 80 pounds, and is the most famous rubber band ball in the world, probably, maybe. That's massive.
He picked it up and then asked how much I'd sell it to him for, and I thought for a second and then highballed him at 25 grand.
1,000? Wow.
And he said his shop could probably only sell it for. So I knew we had no deal. I had to pass. I got some candy and then went out the door. And the ball almost went in the street. Let me know any other ideas you have. So I'm now doing a part 2 of this aluminum foil ball because a lot of people seem to like it. And no, I'm not going to be throwing away the ball at all. But anyway, this is the new process. I hammer it down and then put a new roll on. So here's the first roll, completely pat it down. And then the second roll, completely pat it down. And here's the final roll. I got finished with it, patted it down, and then took the mallet and beat it all up. And I was all out of aluminum foil. Here's me messing around and throwing it as high as I can. And here's asteroids falling from the earth. Like if I should keep on adding to it. So one day I got this new game called Hot Words to play with my friends, and the loser of the game would have to run in the cold creek. The game can have 2 to 4 teams, with each team having 2 people. Each team chooses a jalapeno card, which has what they can't say on it when trying to get their partner to guess a word. So then I invited my friends over to play me, and my brother. And it was all ready to play. Blake and Austin versus me and Jack. Austin drew a card and a pepper that decided his rules, and then he had 30 seconds to let Blake guess as many words as he can.
What happens when you get cut? Scratched. It's a scar.
They progressed forward, and then it was me and Jack's turn.
Scary?
And Jack and I were doing pretty good, just naming off word and word. But the game went on, and Blake and Austin started to pick up the pace, guessing even more words. While Jack and I kind of fell off, and eventually lost. They were happy, and we ran in the cold creek at night. So one day I saw one of David Dobrik's TikToks where he was kicking gum into his mouth, so I drove to the gas station to get some gum and try. I had the gum and I was ready to teach myself how to do this. I put 3 pieces in my mouth, chewed it up, blew a bubble, set some cardboard down for the gum to fall on, and kept missing. Then I switched over to this gum and first practiced my form, then went for it. And I just kept missing and using more pieces, and I was starting to get pretty mad and using up a lot of gum. And I got kind of close here when I caught it and stuck it in my mouth, but then I just kept missing, and then got kind of close. Then I had one hit the ceiling, stick to it, and then fall back down. And then one that almost hit the camera. And then one where I knocked down the blinds. And then another close one. And I was down to 2 pieces of gum. The first one hit the ceiling, so I got another one. And it got dirty too, so I washed it off. And then after a long 26 minutes, I finally got one. And then I celebrated. David Dobrik is one talented man. So one day I saw that I left my giant hamster ball out in the leaves for months. So I got a leaf blower, blew all the leaves out, and saw that there was still a bunch of Orbeez. So I cleaned all the Orbeez out, put them in the dumpster. And I also had to hurry because there was a storm coming. I rinsed off the hamster ball and then decided to try to get in it with these hover shoes. I got in, and then my brother zipped me up and aired me on up. But I had to stop and get out because it got too dark and stormy. But the next day was super sunny, so I got in and tried again. It aired up, and then I put my hood on because it was kind of grimy and went off. I got on the hover shoes, spun around, walked around, and fell. Then I drove a little bit more, went off into the grass, then decided to get out and throw the hamster ball away because it was really grimy. But here's the good news. If this video gets 1.5 million likes, I'll buy a new, bigger, better $800 hamster ball. So one day I decided to make another aluminum foil ball because I couldn't find my other one. So I took a roll and patted it down to a ball and went all around until the roll was empty. And I had this, and then I got another roll and wrapped it all around. And I ended up with this. Then I put the final roll on, patted it down, and bam, an asteroid. Yeah, it's a decent sized ball. I threw it up in the air and then I compared it to my rubber band ball. Then I dropped the 75-pound rubber band ball all over it, and it made it this cool chair. And then asteroids started falling to the earth. Like if I should keep on going. So one day I decided to blow up my giant 45-pound pumpkin. I got some of this explosive stuff and then took it out to the woods, where we then set up a platform for the pumpkin to sit on. I put the pumpkin on it, and then we cut a hole out for the explosion dust to go in, mixed it up, and put it in. Then we were ready to launch a fast-moving projectile at it. And do not try this at home. We are trained professionals. But anyway. Here's the close-up slow-mo, and here's the far-away one. And then here's a little boomerang effect now. And this was all that was left on the platform, and the rest was scattered everywhere else. So comment anything else you want me to try.
All right.
So one day I got a comment that said I should launch my giant rubber band ball and my giant slingshot, so I pulled it back and it did that, as expected. But I also have this little rubber band ball that I pulled back and launched. It went pretty far, and then I launched it in my brother. Right there. And after that, I launched this pool noodle, and then launched it at my brother, but missed that. And then I got this GoPro and decided to launch it with the camera on. I pulled it back, and here's the camera's angle. It spun all around and hit the ground. I found it, and it was still okay, so I tried it again. And this angle was pretty cool. There's my brother picking it up. So I've learned these things are pretty tough, and comment what else I should launch. So one day I got a leaf blower, a skateboard, and an umbrella to try this thing I saw on TikTok. I didn't really understand how it would work, but I put the leaf blower on and tried it, and I didn't move at all. So then I got in a ripstick that I'm more comfortable with, thinking I would just move better, but it didn't do anything. So then I tried going downhill and then even flipping directions with the umbrella, and it didn't work. So then I got sad, but the sunset cheered me up. Psych, I was still pretty mad. I threw the basketball and then kicked it, yeah. So one day I got a comment that said to use Flex Seal on my giant pumpkin and then drop it, but instead I'm going to use it on a different one because I want to do something better to the other one. I gave it a nice coat of Flex Seal all around, and then I let it dry, and while I waited, we got some fireworks in my brother's poorly carved pumpkin, and then we tried to blow it up, but my brother missed, so we tried another one and it didn't really do anything. So then I got a different one, and it was kind of cool, but the next one was way better. Then it was time for another coat of Flex Seal. I sprayed it all around and then left and came back later to finish off the bottom. And it was ready to drop test. Don't try any of this stuff at home. I dropped it, and it cracked. It just cracked in half, and the Flex Seal held the rest together. But I smashed it and jumped on it. And I'm probably going to blow this 45-pound one up, so stay tuned. So one day I went out to a pumpkin patch to get the biggest pumpkin they had. When I walked up, I saw a dog and thought it was nice, but it barked at me. So I just went along, looked at the pumpkins, and here was the biggest ones, the biggest being 30 pounds. But it wasn't actually, because this one weighed 45 pounds. I looked around at the other pumpkins and ended up getting this one and the giant 45-pound one. I put it in the car and then went home to think about what I was going to do with it. I had 4 ideas: carve it, put it on my head, destroy it with a rubber band ball, or blow it up. And I ended up destroying some other pumpkins with the rubber band ball. Slow motion. And then I put it on as a hat. So like if you want me to blow this pumpkin up, or comment what else you want me to do with it. So one day I bought this giant slingshot to launch random stuff. I taped this side to the tree and then the other, and it was ready to launch. So I filled up a box of water balloons, put one in, and it launched pretty good. Then the next one hit a tree. Then I had my brother stand back and shot him in his direction, and then almost hit him a few times. This one was right past him. And here's the first person. I put it in, pull it back, and launch it. Then I went to Walmart to get some pumpkins to try to launch them. I went home and it wasn't working very well. This was my best launch. So I got mad, got on the zip line, and threw it at a tree. Then took the broken pieces and tried to launch them, and they actually did pretty well. Here's another one. Then I had some little pumpkins I also tried, and almost hit my brother. Here it is from behind, flying in the air. And here's another first person launch. Let me know what else I should try. So one day someone commented that I should cover my rubber band ball in Flex Seal, and seeing as I broke it and it needed a little bit of fixing because there's glass shards on it, I thought, why not? So I rolled it out to my yard and started spraying it. I sprayed all around it until it was done. Actually, I gave it a little bit more and then let it sit. And the next day I came back and it had rained, but it was still solid compared to the side that wasn't Flex Seal. I picked it up and took it out to the cul-de-sac, and it bounced the same and was just kind of stale. I rolled it into the basketball goal. Boom. Then stood on it, and let me know what else I should do. So one day I decided to test Flex Seal on a bunch of random glass stuff. I started with this glass llama that's head fell off. I sprayed it with Flex Seal after putting the head on and then let it rest. I then broke this vase to Flex Seal it back together, but ended up breaking it too much. So then I just made it stronger with Flex Seal. I then shattered a picture frame, which I guess Flex Seal can't really fix, but oh well, I still Flex Sealed it. And then I let it all sit out and came back when it was dry. And it had rained, but I think it still Flex Sealed and worked because the llama was fine. It was super sturdy and it held together. And the picture frame, well, yeah. But the vase before broke when I dropped it, and now it's super sturdy. These are decorations now. So one day someone commented for me to drop my rubber band ball in glass. So I went to Walmart and bought a bunch of different glass items, then went home, laid out a tarp, and started with this glass vase. I set it down, then got the rubber band ball and threw it on it. And here's the slow-mo. It completely shattered and tore rubber bands off my rubber band ball. Yeah, I didn't expect that much, so I got this more solid piece of glass, laid it down, and crushed it. And here's that slow-mo. It was obliterated as well, and knocked a bunch more bands off. My ball is pretty mutilated. I washed some of the glass off, and there was a glass piece stuck in it. Comment what else I should try. So one day it was really windy, so I took this giant 6-foot water balloon and I tried to fill it up with air. I got my air pump out, filled it all the way up until it was pretty big. Then I stopped, zip-tied it, tied a string around it, and ran around with it. It was pretty massive. I spun it around, threw it. It didn't pop. I kicked it, still didn't pop. And then I threw it up in the air, caught it, and we were best friends. I ran around, put it in my brother's truck, tried to shoot a basket with it, and then I bopped it with my head and bopped it a little too far and it popped. I was sad. So one day someone commented to drop my rubber band ball from somewhere high, and I don't live anywhere where I can really do that because it weighs 65 pounds and could hurt someone. So I took it to this abandoned race car track, took it to the second story, and dropped it. And it bounced and then just rolled into the ground. And I was like, I got to do something else. So I went down to this pipe and I'm like, can I put it in there? So I looked and it just gradually got smaller. So my ball would have got stuck. Glad I didn't do that. But I just ended up throwing it off and it bounced off into the fence. And it got this mark on it. Oh well, let me know what else I should do with my rubber band ball.